All right, Commanders fans, let's dive right into this one because we've got some breaking developments that could shape the entire direction of this season. But before we get started, let me just remind you, our team here at Commanders HQ is always working to bring you the best, most in-depth coverage on everything happening with Washington. We're improving every day, just like this football team, to make sure you stay informed and fired up for Sundays. So if you're a true fan, smash that like button right now, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. Now, let's get into it. The Washington Commanders are staring at a storm cloud they didn't want to see this early in the season, and it has everything to do with wide receiver Terry McLaurin. His injury status is getting murkier by the day, and it's leaving fans, coaches, and even teammates on edge. What we know is this. McLaurin left the game against the Las Vegas Raiders in the third quarter with what the team initially called a quad issue. At the time, it didn't feel too serious. The Commanders were cruising, and there was no reason to rush him back onto the field. But since then, things have gotten complicated. Head coach Dan Quinn has already told reporters not to expect any clarity until Friday when the final injury designations come out. In other words, fans are being asked to sit tight and wait. But when it's your best wide receiver, waiting doesn't come easy. Adding even more uncertainty, McLaurin has reportedly consulted several doctors, including Dr. William Myers, the nation's top core muscle specialist. And when a player goes that route, it usually means there's more here than just a simple quad injury. Could it be a hernia? Could it be something lingering beyond just a strain? Right now, no one knows for sure, and that's what has the fan base holding its breath. The most obvious sign that this is more than just a small knock? McLaurin hasn't practiced. Not Wednesday, not Thursday. That's 2 straight missed sessions. And for a player as tough as Terry, who has played in 72 consecutive games since 2020, you know it takes something significant to keep him off the field. Fans are starting to ask the real question. Is this just a one-week problem, or are we staring at something that could sideline him for weeks? Because let's be honest, if McLaurin doesn't at least get limited work in by Friday, the odds of him suiting up against the Falcons are slim to none. And that's a nightmare scenario for Washington. Offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury has already admitted he's sketching out game plans that don't involve McLaurin. That alone should tell you plenty. If a coach is openly preparing for life without his number one receiver, then it's not just a day-to-day thing. Here's why McLaurin's injury matters so much. Washington is already banged up across the roster. Noah Brown is dealing with his own issues, tight end John Bates hasn't been practicing, Percy Butler is out, and let's not even get into the laundry list of defensive injuries piling up. Take McLaurin away from Jaden Daniels, or even Marcus Mariota if Daniels can't go, and suddenly this offense looks a whole lot thinner. McLaurin isn't just a star, he's the guy defenses game plan around. His absence changes coverages, opens lanes for guys like Luke McCaffrey and Ben Sinnott, and even helps the running game. Without him, defenses can key in elsewhere and make life harder on everybody. And let's be real, if this injury drags out for multiple weeks, don't be surprised if General Manager Adam Peters starts working the phones. He's been aggressive already this offseason, and if he feels like the Commanders' playoff hopes are in jeopardy without McLaurin, he might just pull the trigger on another bold move to shore up the receiving core. Of course, there's another piece of the injury puzzle. Rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels. He hasn't been cleared yet either. Daniels hurt his knee against the Packers back in Week 2 and missed the win over the Raiders. Now, to his credit, he's doing everything possible to get back. Dan Quinn said Daniels has been a limited participant in practice both Tuesday and Thursday, pushing hard to prove he's ready. And let's not forget, this is the reigning Offensive Rookie of the Year we're talking about, a competitor who doesn't want to miss time. But here's the catch. If Daniels isn't at full strength, throwing him out there against an aggressive Falcons defense could be risky. Yes, Marcus Mariota managed the game well against the Raiders, but fans know this team goes as far as Daniels and McLaurin can take them together. Their chemistry is supposed to be the backbone of this offense. Losing one is tough. Losing both, that's enough to put the entire season's trajectory into question. The Commanders are off to a 2-1 start and feeling good about where they stand. But this week, the road gets tougher. Washington travels to Atlanta for an NFC clash that already carries playoff-type intensity. And you know what makes this one even more interesting? The Falcons are a team Washington beat in dramatic fashion last year in overtime to lock down their spot in the postseason. Fans still remember that heart-pounding finish, but they also remember one man who gave this defense fits all game long. Running back Bijan Robinson. This no ordinary back. He's not just a runner, he's a weapon. He can catch, he can block, he can run between the tackles or bounce outside with elite speed. The guy can line up almost anywhere and still burn you. And this week, defensive coordinator Joe Whitt Jr. didn't even try to hide the respect he has for Bijan's game. You know, we put up the key players each week. You put your strengths and weaknesses. And I didn't have any weaknesses for the guy. Man, he can do it all. He runs inside, outside, catches passes, blocks, runs screens. He does everything at a high level. That's the reality. Washington's defense is facing one of the best all-around players in the league, and stopping him is the key to walking out of Atlanta with a win. Now, here's the thing about the Falcons right now. Their passing game is struggling badly. Rookie quarterback Michael Penix Jr. hasn't found his rhythm yet. The receivers aren't producing. In fact, through 3 weeks, Bijan Robinson has Atlanta's only receiving touchdown. Think about that. A running back is carrying the passing game. That tells you everything about how dependent Atlanta is on Bijan to create offense. So the formula for Washington is simple, but not easy. Stop Robinson, and you force Penix to throw more than he's comfortable. Do that, and you tilt the game in your favor. But of course, saying it is one thing. Executing it, that's where this defense has to rise to the challenge. Now, here's where it gets exciting, Commanders fans. Last year, Washington was near the bottom of the NFL in stopping the run. Opposing backs carved them up, and when Atlanta came to town, Bijan rushed for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. It was too easy. But this year, total turnaround. Through 3 games, Washington ranks 8th in the league in yards allowed per carry at just 3.7. That's not just good, that's elite territory. And the credit goes to some key changes in the front 7.
The addition of Javon Kinlaw has been huge. He's not only clogging lanes, but also freeing up Daron Payne to get back to his dominant self. It's like Payne has been rejuvenated with a new running mate inside. Dorrance Armstrong, who many fans thought was just a situational pass rusher, has turned into one of the most complete edges in the game right now. He's not only pressuring quarterbacks, but also leading the charge and setting the edge against the run. With 10 run stops already, 3rd among all NFL edge defenders. That's enormous. And then there's the steady presence of Bobby Wagner. What more can you say about the veteran linebacker? At 34, he's still playing like he's in his prime. His run defense grade on PFF sits just behind Fred Warner, one of the very best in the game. Wagner has been the heartbeat of this front 7, coming downhill and punishing runners. When you put all of that together, you've got a defense that is miles ahead of where it was in 2024. And that gives Washington a real shot to contain Bijan Robinson this time around. Make no mistake, the Falcons are going to lean heavily on Robinson in this game. They know their passing attack isn't there yet. They know Washington's secondary has had its struggles. So the plan will be clear. Get Robinson involved early and often, both as a runner and as a receiver out of the backfield. That means discipline is everything for the Commanders' defense. Gap control, tackling fundamentals, not letting Robinson slip free on screens, all of it will be tested. The good news is that Washington's defensive line rotation is deeper and more balanced than it has been in years. And with guys like Armstrong, Payne, Kinlaw, and Wagner playing at this level, the Commanders aren't walking into this fight unarmed. They're walking in prepared, confident, and ready to prove that last year's weakness is now a strength. Now, let's zoom out. Why is this game such a big deal? Well, for one, both teams are trying to stay above 500 early in the season. Washington at 2-1 wants to keep momentum rolling, especially with questions swirling about the offense due to injuries. But even bigger than that, this is a measuring stick game. If the Commanders can go on the road and shut down one of the best running backs in football, it's a statement win. It shows the rest of the league that this defense, led by Dan Quinn and Joe Whitt Jr., is legit. Not just improved, but one of the toughest units out there. And let's not forget the psychological edge. Beating the Falcons in their house after last year's overtime thriller would solidify Washington's confidence and send a message that this team is building something real. So where does this leave the Commanders? Honestly, in a very delicate position. On one hand, they've shown resilience. The defense, despite lacking turnovers, has played tough football.
The offense found life against Las Vegas, even without Daniels. And Dan Quinn has brought a steadiness to the sideline that wasn't there in past seasons. But football is a game of stars, and Terry McLaurin is a star. If he's not out there, that's a huge piece missing, both in terms of production and leadership. Remember, this is a guy who fought through a contract standoff all summer, finally got his extension, and still showed up ready to lead. Losing him, even temporarily, isn't just about yards and touchdowns. It's about the heartbeat of the locker room. For now, all Washington can do is prepare for multiple scenarios. McLaurin plays, McLaurin sits, Daniels plays, Daniels sits. The coaching staff is walking a tightrope, and the next 48 hours will go a long way in determining just how steep that climb becomes. Commanders fans, here's the reality. The uncertainty around Terry McLaurin is a dark cloud hanging over this team, and it feels like it's getting heavier by the day. Until Friday's final injury report comes out, we're all stuck in the same boat, waiting and hoping. But now I want to hear from you. If Terry misses this week, or worse, multiple weeks, how confident are you in the rest of this receiving core to step up? Do you think Adam Peters should go out and make a move, or should the team ride it out with what they have? And what about Jayden Daniels? Would you risk playing him less than 100% or stick with Mariota until he's fully ready? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one of them, and I know this community always brings the heat with smart takes. And again, if you enjoyed this breakdown and want to keep getting exclusive Commanders coverage, smash that like button and make sure you're subscribed to Commanders HQ. This season is just getting started, and no matter what, we'll be here with you every step of the way. HTTC.